Hey folks, I'm Dani Borow and I'm here today with my great friend Charles Garneau with Legacy Mutual Mortgage. And Charles, I hear you're very excited to be here with us today.
Yes, very excited. We had a little disaster a little bit earlier this morning. I'm gonna cut to the clip right here. Getting ready for showtime. Disaster has struck. We got a little zit right here. And so we're here. We're here. We made it. Don't zoom in on the video because it could get a little awkward, but I'm here to help answer a few questions about the real estate market.
Okay, very good. With the current state of the economy and the real estate market, what do you foresee as trends in terms of buyer inventory, interest rates, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so it's very interesting because each market has different pockets of how much the demand is, right? So you may talk to someone up north that sees the real estate market slower as someone down south here in Florida.
Sure.
So we have to be careful, and that's why you sometimes see like those wars on Facebook of like different people that have different arguments on whether the market is slow or fast. It really depends on the pocket. So we're gonna look just at the facts here in Lakeland last year. So we like to compare year over year. So April of last year to April of this year to see if it's slowing down, is it speeding up? So interestingly enough, there were 331 sales last year, and this year we're at 327 in April. So it's basically the same amount. The home prices have actually increased 5.7% from last year to this year. So your uncle that told you don't buy a house because it's gonna slow down was wrong. It actually went up 5.7%, and the rate went up from last year to this year. So that's the biggest piece that we're seeing. So I would say be very careful, always purchase based on what's comfortable from a monthly payment standpoint.
Exactly.
Or comfortable level from cash out of pocket that you need in order to purchase the home, so that you can move in and have extra money to fix some of those extra items. It's probably the most important piece and purchasing in your price point.
So interest rates, they play a significant role in the affordability of homes, right? So how do you see them trending right now? Are they going up? Are they going down? What are they doing?
Yeah, so whoever tells you that they know where the rates are gonna go probably is just like speculating. So there's a lot of speculations. It's hard for me to tell you, yes, the rates are gonna go up or they're gonna go down. Just from statistics in the past, every time we get close to an election, we have a tendency to see the rates actually soften a little bit. So we're expecting the rates to drop a little bit, but I would not wait on those rates to drop, because what ends up happening is when we see the rates dropping,
Prices go up.
if prices go up, you have a ton of people moving forward that were kind of holding off until that. So now you're purchasing a house for $25K more, and you're getting 0.25% better on the interest rate.
Not necessarily the best.
Exactly,
right?
yeah. So that's the first big point. Another big point also is inflation is not slowing down as much as the market or the Fed wants them to. So what ends up happening is if they see inflation that continues to go up or stays stagnant and not actually deflates, we're gonna start seeing the rates continue to go up. So it's kind of like a mixed answer. I think based on how well the market reacts to the Fed raising the rates will determine whether or not we're gonna see the rates drop in the near future. Thankfully, Florida is shielded. We've had so many people move here. So even if the rates went from like the 6s to now we're in the low 7s, there's so many people moving here that the demand is kind of like preventing the home prices from dropping.
Sure.
So a home up north where you have a ton of people moving from New York or some of these other states are gonna start seeing the home prices drop, right, a little bit more. But in Florida, we still see them appreciating over time.
Okay, so first-time home buyers, I love them and you love them too, right? So somebody is trying to buy a home for the first time. What is the process for getting prepared? What advice do you have for first-time home buyers who are considering taking the plunge?
I think the number one piece is clarity, like having clarity in what your numbers need to be for you to be comfortable with moving forward with a house. So you decide to move forward with renting an apartment based on a specific budget that you have, right? You're like, hey, I'm gonna rent here because it's $1,500 or less. So you need to have the same conversation, but on the purchasing side, so that you don't continue paying the rent long term. Also, a big conversation we have up front is about improving credit.
Yes.
So sometimes people are not quite sure whether they're ready to move forward or not. And the biggest mistake there is not doing anything. Like if you don't have a game plan in place, that tells you, okay, I need to start by paying down this card. And then I need to reach out to potentially a credit attorney to remove a collection that now turns out my score went from a 580 to a 610. And then because the collection got removed, now we're up to a 650, right? So I would say the most important piece for us is always reaching that 640 mark. Okay. It helps with better pricing, better payments, and also it allows clients to get down payment assistance, which is another big conversation that we could talk about this for an hour. But on the down payment assistance side, it really helps because between working with an agent, getting some seller credit, you mix that in with some down payment assistance, we can have a cash to close of $1,000, $1,500. And even if you do have $5,000 or $10,000 set aside, we don't have to use all of that. There's a big piece when you're buying a home, if your cash to close is $10,000 and you only have $12,000 in the bank, I would think twice before buying because it puts you in a tight position, right? But if we're able to keep the cash to close minimal and you get to keep an extra $8,000 to $10,000 in the bank, it just gives you a little bit more comfortability level with moving forward.
Absolutely. And on the topic of the down payment assistance, what programs are now available that can help the buyers, whether they're first-time home buyers or just somebody trying to buy a house and they're a little tight on cash? Very
good question. So we're kind of spoiled in the state of Florida. We get a lot of different programs. So, and some of them are county restricted. So just be careful, always talk to Dani or a lender whenever you're going through that. But one of them would be Hometown Heroes has been a very popular one. It helps with a ton of money. They say up to $35,000, but it's based on the purchase price. So talk to a lender to find out how much you would be entitled to in order to help with your down payment.
And did that change from being a first responders, teachers, only to encompassing more professions?
Yeah, so now it's only first-time home buyers, so everybody is a hero. So first-time home buyers, 35 hours a week or more for your position, and it has to be an employer that's residing here in Florida. Correct. Okay. There's another one called Bond that can be done in anywhere in the state of Florida. That's a $10,000 grant. There's Home Key, which is a great program for Polk County, Pinellas, and Pasco. That's $8,000, so that's another great one. They have lower rates in the low sixes. So if we qualify for that, that's a really good program that we love to put first-time home buyers in. There's a lot of other programs, Hands, that's available. So we always have like a one-on-one conversation with the client based on their credit and their goal, and we just kind of go from there.
And every little bit helps, right?
For sure,
and why leave thousands of dollars on the table when it's available to you?
For sure, for sure, especially for first-time home buyers. Even if you have the money, it doesn't mean you have to spend all of the money that you have saved. It takes a while to save that kind of money, so.
Yes. So I know you talked a little bit about credit, but I kind of want to go back to that because I know that is heavy on a lot of people's minds. So what if my credit score is not that great? What can I do to improve it? What are some of the steps that you recommend?
On the credit repair, I would say step one would definitely be like any extra money that you have, we need to focus heavily on paying down credit cards.
Okay.
So before you get any credit attorneys involved or any extra money like that, number one is paying down credit cards. If you pay them down to zero, it's actually perfect. Okay. A lot of credit card companies tell you, hey, keep a balance of 10% or 30%, and they try to keep you in debt so you can keep continuing paying interest to them. But having a balance of zero is really what's going to improve your score the most. The second step is making sure you don't open any new accounts. So any accounts that have been opened recently, if let's say you've had a credit card that's been open for 100 months, and now you open a brand new credit card for 1 month, the way the model works is they take an average of the two. So that we would have to use a 15-month average, and that's why when you open a new credit card, instead of like increasing, it hurts your score because your overall length of history dropped from 100 down to 50, right? So it takes an average of the two. So making sure you don't open any new accounts. Same thing with collections. We want to make sure there's no new collection that pop up on there. And then I would say the last piece is just working with a direct credit attorney that knows what they're doing. There's a lot of companies that don't follow APR regulations in the state of Florida, or they don't regulate well as far as like the paperwork goes, and they're able to get those removed completely. A lot of times people think paying off a collection is the right thing to do, but always talk to a professional first, because if you pay it off, you're actually admitting fault to the debt. you could have an account that was 5 years old and now you're paying it off. And the date of last activity went from 5 years ago to today.
Okay.
And now it actually hurts your score because you paid it off and you're admitting fault to the debt. So just be careful when it comes to that.
How do you feel about those debt consolidation companies that are out there? Are they good for you? Or are they gonna do more harm than good? What do you think?
So I like the psychological effect of yourself working on paying off the credit cards. Because the longer it takes you to pay off everything and just to work really, really hard, maybe a side job or you do a lot of overtime to pay off the credit cards, it really sensitizes you to, man, I really don't want to have
Don't want to do this again.
I don't want to do this again.
Yeah.
This is so much work. So I feel like whenever you have consolidation loan, it's like the easy way out. Sometimes it's a good move if the interest rates on the credit cards are 26% and the consolidation is only 8, 9, 10%.
Right.
It makes more sense. But I also like going the route of working really, really hard to just pay off the smaller credit cards and work your way up.
Okay, so looking ahead, what do you foresee as potential challenges or opportunities in real estate, and how can potential home buyers prepare for that?
Inventory is going to be the biggest issue. And so I'm just going to kind of walk everybody through this. So on one side, you have a lot of people who already own a house. They have a lot of equity in their home. They're comfortable. They love their payments. The rates are low. They're comfortable, right? They're not moving. So now we're taking, which is, by the way, 70% of all properties right now have an interest rate that's like below 4.5.
Because a lot of people refinanced during the crazy COVID rates.
That's right. Yeah. So we call it the poison pill in the market. Is you have a lot of people that it froze the market. So someone who would potentially sell their home considered saying, you know what, I'm just going to stay an extra 5 years.
Right.
And so that property doesn't rotate back into the market. So I would say that's the first big piece that is going to hold a lot of inventory away. Another big piece that we've heard it is a lot of investors, right? There's a lot of investors on the higher level. Instead of just investing on the broker side, like as far as stock market and everything, they say, you know what, we're going to diversify. We're going to buy single family residences as well. So that's another big portion. That's their goal of in the next 10 to 20 years. They want to purchase X amount of properties. And so that's going to take another portion away from the market. And there's only so much the builders can build at the same time, right? I always tell people, shop based on your purchase price and monthly payment you feel comfortable with. But don't believe your uncle saying like, hey, the market is going to slow down. The home prices are going to drop. There's too much money coming to Florida for home prices to drop, right? You have businesses that were making a lot of money up in New York and now they're moving down to Florida. Same thing with California, because we don't have any state tax here. So when they bring all the money and all their clients down here and their employees, it's great for our economy, right? But it also brings in a lot of money within the state, and it dilutes the value of each dollar. And so from a long-term perspective, if you're diluting the value of dollars because you have more money in the market and you have less amount of properties available and you have more people looking to buy, home prices are just going to go up long-term. And that's not just an opinion, right? That's just straight economic fact. Like you could have unemployment go up significantly. You could have the rates go up in the 9s or the 10s. It doesn't matter. Florida is very shielded because of the amount of properties here. Now, it doesn't matter where you're at in Florida. You may have pockets where some of the homes are actually depreciating, right? Where you could have a pocket where for whatever reason, there's 3 or 4 owners that decide to sell their home and they're selling it at a lower price. And now your house itself is worth a little bit less, right? So there's going to be exceptions to the rule, but when we look at it from like a macro standpoint, I would say that's the biggest challenge ahead of time is making a decision to buy based on monthly payments instead of like waiting for that magical date.
Right, because rates fluctuate, right? However, home prices, the trend is to always keep going up, correct? So that's why we say marry the house, date the rate. You know, because that can change a little bit. But what I hear you say is don't wait. Correct. Don't wait.
Make a decision based on payments. Like my interest rate could be 12%. If I'm comfortable with the payment, that's all that matters. Versus like on the rental side, people don't account for the fact that they don't have control over the rent payment. So next year, your rent that was $1,500 might be $1,600, and then the year after that might be $1,700, and then $1,750, and so forth. When you buy a house, you freeze time. right? So you lock time and place of I bought my house in 2021 or 2024 or 2027, and I'm not looking back. This is what I bought it for. If the rates go up, that's fine. I'm going to keep making my payments because I'm comfortable with it, right? If the rates go down, I'll refinance. And if they go down, guess what? Your home is going to be worth more. So it's just a good investment overall. But then if you're in a situation where you're renting with 4 other people and you're paying $400 a month, that's a great deal for you. Just save as much money as you can while you're doing that, and you'll find a deal at some point, right?
Yeah, I think I've heard you say once that when you're renting, your interest rate is 100%.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, because you're not paying yourself back anything, you're not getting anything out of the deal. So
yeah, I love people that just bring up the whole rental, saying like, hey, my rent is cheaper than purchasing a house. I'm like, well, that's weird, because if I were to buy a duplex right now and you would have a payment of $2,000 and you can rent out the other unit for $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, now you're really paying $600, $700. So I'm still cheaper and my house is appreciating and I'm paying it down.
Yeah.
Long term, like if someone tells me that in 5 years the home prices are going to be lower, it would surprise me big time. And in 10 years, it's just a 0% chance that the home prices in Florida are going to be cheaper.
Well, thank you so much, Charles, for all this amazing information. This has been so helpful, and we hope to be checking in with you from time to time and giving us this market updates. And I really appreciate you being here with us today.
Well, I appreciate you. I always tell my people, like, every time I hear someone working with Dani, like I feel like you're taking care of them like they're your own family.
They are.
But without the expertise of your uncle that seems to know everything. Like Dani actually knows everything about real estate. She's worked with so many clients in the past. Every time there's a hiccup, she jumps on top of it. She problem solves it. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Love her so much. She's like, that.
Thank you.